allergies. Again, today it's very warm. Car is covered in pollen. I think it just gets to me. I feel tired, like all day with this stuff. I guess I'll be tired and out of it now for probably another 3 or 4 weeks till this stuff lets up. So I'll be presenting today's show basically like half asleep. And when I'm done, I'll go lay down and take a nap. You should be taking a nap as well because you need your rest. Ooh, here we are. Welcome to the show. Welcome back. For those of you who have been listening before, my name is Michael. I am a woman's photographer from New Jersey. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of women through the course of my career as a woman's photographer. And we got a little show where we answer questions about women's photography, boudoir photography, because as we know, it is not so easy finding a photographer out there in the universe. A lot of missteps. It's a veritable minefield, as we always say. Women think they're just going to go on the Google machine, pick someone out, and wind up with a cute wedding gift. And oh, would you be so wrong? It's not quite as easy as that. So we want everyone to be safe. We want everyone to have a fun time. We want everyone to have a good experience. And mostly we want everyone to walk away after their session going, yeah, I'm glad I did that, and have some beautiful pictures that they can enjoy for years to come. If only if it was that simple for everybody in the world of women's photography. So today we're here to answer another question in our show, talk a little bit about boudoir photography, answer a question you may have been thinking about in the back of your mind. As I look through my dirty glasses, that's gonna drive me nuts. I don't know what I did there. We're experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by. Michael cannot see. I think I would have noticed that before I got going. But nevertheless, we will push on. So today we got another question. We're going to be chatting a little bit. And if you read the title of the show, we're going to be talking a little bit about Photoshop today. But first, have you seen those like giant fires in like New Jersey? That's like literally like right over here. It's literally like right over here, like close to where I am. Those, I always talk about going in the forests. There's like a lot of forest around here. You think of New Jersey as like being like a bazillion people, and there is, but there's only like a bazillion people in like one part of the state, and then like the rest of the state is just forest. It's like very weird. So I'm on that fringe of like civilization, and just next to me is like forests. So it's like right there. And I forget what day it was, Tuesday when that started or so. I was coming down the parkway. I was still 15 miles away or so, and you could just see in the distance this giant black smoke coming. They had the parkway closed. It's pretty bad. I didn't get close enough to it to see the actual fire, but where I am, you smell the smoke, that burning smoke smell. It's been in the air now for a couple days. I think they got it under control a little bit, but there's like, it's like to the forest I go to exercise was like right next to where this was all burning. So hopefully no one was injured. And I know there were a couple homes or buildings that got burnt down there. It was a lot. There's a lot going on. So an eventful week. And that wind, it's funny how that shifts and it just changes the whole direction how that fire works. So hopefully that's under control. I haven't heard a lot about it like today. I haven't been really looking at it, but I see less smoke, black smoke up in the air. So hopefully that's getting under control. So it was an eventful week in that regard. Not much going on. Otherwise, for me, pretty quiet in that. I had a bunch of women that all wanted to come in. Was that last week? And I was scrambling, trying to find dates, and they all vanished on me. They all told me, I want to do this. I want to come in soon. We got to go soon. We got to go soon. We got to go soon. I was finding spots for them, and one woman was like, I can't on this day. Can we do it on this day? So I juggled my schedule around a little bit. I got her day, sent it back to her. She picked out the package she wanted and everything else. She hasn't responded. The one woman who wanted to come in for her digital photo, like online creator stuff, She stopped responding from me. And another woman who was traveling, just postponing till later. It's just the way it goes sometimes. I think I'm going to be cramming in a few people at the very end of my spring season. Didn't happen. It's just the way it goes sometimes. So I had that I thought would be happening this week, but not really much went on photography-wise. And then if you haven't had a chance after you listen to this episode, you can go back and listen to last week's episode, which was, what are 2 things I should look out for when choosing a boudoir photographer? Because, we have always some interesting information in those shows, and it's all about educating you, giving you the information you need to make the smart choice for your session. You know what to ask, because these crazy women's photographers are not going to volunteer this information to you unless you ask specifically. We want your photos to be safe, private. It's just like a mess. So make sure you go and listen to that episode. It's a good episode there. And as usual, what we're going to do is just pause here for a moment and give any photographers listening just a few moments to leave the show. The show isn't for you. It's nothing to do with you. So we'll just give you a few moments to hit the back button and listen to your Get Rich Quick Photography podcast, because that's not what this is. So I'll just sip my drink. We'll give them a moment to leave. I don't even know what we're drinking this week. This week's show brought to you by Olipop. Olipop, the fiber-enriched soda that makes you poop. It's a really strange concept that they put all that fiber in these. So if you don't like taking fiber, like powder, now they're mixing it in drinks and stuff like that, which makes it more it's easier to take. I don't know who was thinking of making a fiber soda. It's a little strange if you ask me, but today we're drinking Olipop for some reason. So now that all the photographers are gone, today our question I'm going to chat a little bit about. This is an interesting topic. It's going to be, can you ask for custom Photoshop edits after your boudoir shoot is done? Meaning, you go through and do your session. You're like, photographer, I don't like this. I don't like that about me. Can you take this out? Can you make this bigger? Can you make this smaller? What level is okay to go ahead and ask, if at all, like these kind of special requests for any photographer. So we're going to get into that a little bit, so you know what to ask, what you can, what maybe it's not typically asked for. And knowing this, that editing, just is a totally normal part of boudoir and women's photography. It's been a part of boudoir photography since boudoir photography was a thing. But this conversation has really rapidly changed over the past couple of years now that AI has become involved and all this other stuff going on in this rapidly changing world of photography. So we're going to chat a little bit about that. If my brain is functioning on this much clarity, I will maybe think of a time or two where this popped up in my world and what I would typically do. And we'll talk about this for a bit, because this is interesting to know. Not a lot of people asking, but they should be aware of this, because we're going to give you some AI information here that maybe you didn't really know what was going on. So, edits in boudoir photography are very, very, very normal. All photographers have, like I said, done this since there was boudoir, beauty photography, making women look great. Photoshopping and stuff like that is just kind of it's baked into the genre. It would always be that after you did your photos, you had your hair and makeup done, so all that was done. But afterwards, your photographer would painstakingly edit your photos, and this was really how they earn the big bucks, because editing is not easy. It takes a long time to become a competent editor. So they would go through all of your photos, touching everything up. That's where they really earn their money, like I said. And at the end, you were presented these photos of yourself. You look beautiful. You look wonderful. Everything was perfect. Everything was in place. You looked at them and went, oh, I love the way I look. And it was a great sort of experience. And one thing that comes up kind of a lot now, and people talk about Photoshop. And even when people would talk about Photoshop like a decade ago, I remember having clients like after a session, like once in a while, they'd be like, "Oh, that's a cute photo. Can you just like take out the background and put me on a beach, or put me on the moon, or whatever it may be?" And they would like say this stuff to you like they thought that all you did was like push a button and magically poof, you were out of this bedroom and you were on the moon. It just automatically inserted like a moon sort of behind you, or it automatically. I remember I had a short spurt of like people who I had. See, this is my own fault again, putting like photos with angel wings on. So people would see and go, "Oh, I want angel wings." And what they really didn't understand, and what people think, "Oh, just push the button and it happens." And it didn't work that way. And it's only a recent innovation in the world of like Photoshop that those things have become easier. And I was never really ever a like Photoshop expert. I don't know if you've ever seen these people that take like these photos, and they on YouTube you'll see these videos of them like taking a person and they put it in like usually fast motion, and they show all the edits in the beginning photo, and then the end is completely different, and they've like glamorized these shots or whatever the edits they're making in landscape. They're like very talented Photoshop artists, and the whole thing was about Photoshop is what it was very arcane. There was nothing simple about it. There was never just one way to do something. And people studied Photoshop. There were Photoshop experts, and everybody, if you wanted to do this, there was one way, and you wanted to do this, and there was this Photoshop guru, and this Photoshop guru, and this Photoshop guru, and nothing was simple. And even smoothing out skin, there's nothing simple about it. It took forever, and it was a lot of work. And people used to think that, you just click the button, and magically, poof, you were now on the moon. It would cut you out. And there was nothing further from the truth. And I just never had the patience, nor ever had the desire. But you had to like, if you wanted to cut somebody out, you had to like trace around them every single little bit. And then in the hair, it was like this painstaking, arduous process of going around somebody. And then you had to composite like a background and make sure the tones were correct and everything matched. And it was a lot of work, and I never did it. If I wanted something like that, I knew somebody who was like a Photoshop person, and any kind of like edits like that were way over above my skill level. I had somebody else doing for me. And so I never really did that. I was never like big into Photoshop anyway. I was always trying to get as much as I could do correct, because I knew how much work it was and I didn't want to do it. So I was technically trying to get everything as close to the way I wanted it when I took the photo. So that way there was less for me to do like afterward. But once in a while, always things sort of popped up. But I try to minimize that as much as possible. But people would always request, "Oh, this tattoo, I don't like this." And so it's just a part of every photographer's life. But it was never really a simple thing. Like people always think it was so simple. And the truth of the matter, and I'm not the world's foremost expert on Photoshop, but Photoshop, when it came out, really had nothing to do with photography. It was never made for photographers. As far as I know, it was like a graphic art tool for like graphic artists. And somehow photographers kind of like weaseled their way into using this, and taking the photos they created and going through the arcane processes on Photoshop, retouching, and that was sort of big. And for a while, when everyone wanted these pristine sort of retouched photos, but it wasn't easy. There were people who commanded a lot of money to do very special edits in Photoshop. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of skill. So in photography, it was really just kind of basic things, I think, that photographers were doing. And if you wanted anything really a level above that, they had to know or hire somebody to do any kind of special work. It was never just clicking sort of a button. But this editing process was just part of Photoshop. And then, as I noted, because of the nature of boudoir photography, there were always clients that wanted a little polishing up here, a little editing there, and that was always normal. And the most common requests that you would hear, like skin smoothing, You know, if somebody had a blemish or something like that, taking that out. If somebody just happened to be leaning wrong and pushing things back in. Or I know what always would drive me nuts when women were wearing like the wrong size bra or something like that. It would always push into the skin here, so you'd have skin like coming out over and under, and I hated that. So I would always like, you know, things like that fix up. And another most common thing that comes to my mind is like tattoos. You know, I would always joke that, you know, people remove this tattoo, you know, Larry. And, you know, she never married Larry, but now she has this tattoo with Larry all over her. And so she wanted the photo out of all the pictures. And one of my favorites was sometimes people would say before their session, oh, I have this little tattoo. Can you just take it out of my photos? And it was like a dragon that went from like the hip down to the toe. Like the whole leg was like I'm like, how could I take out your entire leg? You know, but usually you would hear tattoos, as far as I know, was probably one of the more common things that people would want removed from their photo. So that wasn't too horrible. And then, you know, when you were doing this, and the way that I always wanted it to be going through that editing and Photoshop process was that like a good photographer knows how to retouch and edit these photos so that it still feels like you. You want to be you in the photos. You don't want to be something else. You just want to be the best version of you. And also you don't want it to be immediately noticeable that anything was done. You don't want to look at it and go, ooh, you don't even want it to stand out. It's like good visual effects in a movie. You don't want it even to be recognized as something happened. You almost want to notice like nothing went on. And then there was a lot of really bad Photoshop editing because people get a little tool like they go bananas. And I remember seeing like ridiculous like skin smoothing, and they would give people like laser green or laser blue eyes that never looked like anything that you would ever see on a human being. And there was a lot of bad Photoshop editing, and you just see these pictures and go, oof, who would like want to? It was just like noticeable. They would destroy people's skin. And I've seen a little bit less of that. You know, but as the years go back, there was just horrible people overdoing the Photoshop. And I was just like, ooh. And then they would say, oh, look how great she looks. I'm like, no, she does not look great. Nobody's eyes look like that. You know, nobody's skin looks like that. It does not look normal. Don't do that. And as I noticed, you know, good photographers know how to retouch to make a person look like the best version of themselves. You're not going to notice like changes like that. It's going to look like nothing happened. You won't even notice. We want to keep you looking like you. So that's a little bit of basics on, you know, how the editing part of boudoir works. And Photoshop has changed a lot. You know, so now there are things you can click a button in Photoshop and it will cut somebody out of the back. You could do that now, boop, and it selects them. Pretty good too. It works pretty good. So Photoshop has come a long way in what it can do. It's still like a graphic design tool, but they've incorporated some elements. It's getting smarter and smarter and better and better. And clients should be comfortable in asking for things to be edited or like toned down a bit. Now, sometimes photographers go through and they do some basics, but you may pick up on something that they missed. And it's fine to go back and say, by the way, can you push this in, or can you make this look a little bit bigger, or can you make this look a little smaller? It's absolutely okay to ask your photographer to do something like that. Because I think it happened to me just recently. I was this one session, the woman had like dirty bottoms of her shoes, and somehow I completely overlooked it. And I think it was her husband who was like, hey, can you clean up can you fix the shoes? I was like, oh geez. And I just overlooked it. And, you know, there's scuffs and I think there was like a price tag or something on the bottom of the one. So somehow, you know, photographers may miss things once in a while or try to catch everything. But if you notice something that you don't like, it's perfectly okay to ask them to go back and, you know, put some edits in and fix something up in case they missed it, or maybe you just don't like something. And like one example that comes to my mind was maybe 3 years ago, not even in women's photography, had a beach photography, a senior photo shoot and these people were traveling down here. And I think, if I remember, the mother was trying to organize a whole makeup session for the daughter, and for whatever reason that didn't work out. I think the weather was not good, and we had to keep changing, and by the third change, the makeup artist wasn't available anymore. She said, we'll just do our own. And knowing that, we went out and did the photo session with the young woman. She looked really good, a couple different outfits, and I came back thinking that, or they wanted this makeup. And so I painstakingly started to go through some of these closer photos and like headshot type photos that were in there, and started to apply the makeup digitally, which I can do now to a degree if I have to. It takes some time. So I went through, did all these makeup edits, and nothing again extreme. Senior photos, just very simple. You're not going crazy or do anything with this, but it's very fair haired. If I remember, she had like auburn or like strawberry blonde hair, fair skin, and put some makeup on her, and I'm just very, little bit, didn't go anything crazy. And then the mother uploaded these photos, and I thought they looked really great. And the mother was like, yeah, about this makeup, yeah, can we like not have that? And I'm thinking, didn't you want a makeup artist there? What do you think they were going to do? And then the mother wanted no makeup on this woman whatsoever. So all that time I spent, I had to go back, just basically have the original photos. And I don't know if this was the daughter's input or just the mother's input, wanted this young woman with absolutely no makeup on in the photos. I was a little bit confused because I was like, didn't you just want a makeup artist there? So nevertheless, that's what they wanted. That's what they got, and that's perfectly okay. So in a situation where you see something that you don't like, or you want more makeup or less makeup, sometimes the photographer can make those changes, and it really boils down to open communication. I want to make sure the people are getting what they want, when they come into the session. And this is part of where photographers have to understand it's not about them. If someone likes a particular thing, I'm going to do what I can do to help them get those photos the way that they like. So there's no issue with asking for something, like I said, normal and reasonable in any kind of women's or boudoir photo shoot. When it comes to like simple touch-ups like that, don't feel like you're driving your photographer bananas or nuts. It's all okay. Now, if you have like 800 pictures and you want something, that may be something you're going to get a little pushback from, but just like simple things in a few photos is not really a concern for any photographer. But as we all have heard over these past 2 years or so, with this incredible sort of like rise of AI, which, for what it's worth now, everything advertises itself as AI. But when this started entering the photo space, I'm going to say like 2 or 3 years ago, with a lot of promises and AI removal and AI this and AI generative this and that, and everything is AI now in Photoshop. See, to me, this is always exciting stuff. And a lot of photographers always like, that was my bread and butter. It was like the secret for me to be able to do this. And now anybody can kind of do it. To me, it's like easier, less work I have to do. So I remember being really excited when Photoshop started to talk about their generative fill stuff. And I saw some demos of it before it became available to everybody. And it was like amazing. Essentially, I'm thinking to myself, I can have clients to come in and imagine, like, I have this one woman and she's like wearing a white bra. I can circle it and say like blue bra, and I can give her a whole new outfit. Wouldn't that be fun? Or remember we were talking about with the angel wings, I can draw out in there, but add angel wings to her, and poof, maybe we can get some really great angel wings and do some kind of effects we were never able to really do simply like that before. So I was really interested in trying this out when it first became available. And I guess, in the nature of my work, I'm thinking, what are all the cool ways I can do this? And then it finally became sort of available in beta. And I'm going in there and I'm practicing and I'm taking one of my boudoir photos. And I think I did exactly that. And woman circle on like red bra or whatever, click the button. I'm like, yes, here we go, here we go. And the little thing is going like doo 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 the bar, and then poof, you get this big warning message on your screen from Adobe. You are a violator. You are asking to do something wrong. You will be reported and will lose your Adobe account or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what's happening? Maybe it's because it's beta. Maybe I did so. So let's try it again. Circle the woman, blue bra. Boom, hit the button, and it goes, doo, 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 doo. It's working, and then the message pops up again. Poof, you are a violator. You are the most evil person in the world. And it became very obvious, like very quickly, what was happening is that in the world of AI, and this isn't just like Photoshop, and now it's anything, the female body is programmed into any kind of AI as being offensive. And this is something as a women's photographer or boudoir, you realize like right away if you try to use any of these tools. Soon as you put a woman in that photo, didn't matter what, boom, you are a violator. And this was getting me mad because I was thinking, this is my computer. I'm doing this for my work. I'm a professional photographer, and I want to make these photos, and they're not letting me. They're saying everything is inappropriate, and they're blocking you. There's really no way around this. It's programmed in at the factory, and this is the same for any kind of AI image generating software. Anything that has to do with AI, they're all programmed that women's bodies are evil. If there is a woman's body in this photo in any way, shape, or form, just slam the brakes on and tell the person, there's Satan, there's Hitler, and then there's you. Like, you are one of the most top 3 evil entities for even thinking of putting a woman in this photo and trying to edit it. And everything's inappropriate, and it's very, very frustrating because if you're in a wedding photographer or a dog, you could do whatever you want to these photos. Give the dog 2 heads, circle, and boom, the dog has 2 heads. Or ugly groom, make him a cute groom, and then you circle the groom's head, and it would make him like a cute guy. But in the world of women, if there's any skin showing, that Photoshop is just going to blow up in your face and read you the riot act and tell you how much of an awful person you are. You're waiting for the Adobe police to show up and arrest you at your door. How dare you put a woman in that photo and try to do anything with it? And what it turns out, this, as I noted, this is just not Adobe. It's all of these companies have their system programmed. Even Google does this now to websites. All this AI. If there's a woman on your website, you are awful. So they all have gone to this super extreme because as smart as these AIs are, they ain't very smart because they do not know any kind of context. AI lacks any kind of context, meaning it sees a woman, it doesn't know if it's art or like pornography. There's no distinction there. It sees a body, it assumes you are evil, what you're working on is evil, everything is evil, and it just slams the brakes on. It doesn't let you use any of these new tools on any type of photo like that. So this is one thing that is really bad about this new technology, and hopefully it will change and these systems will be able to understand context a little bit better and what you're doing and not blanket shut down any AI tool and force it not to work just because there's a woman's body in the photo. I'm not even talking about nudity or anything like that. I'm talking if you have a woman just like in a bra, forget it. That or even skin. I've done it in dresses and it sees like, there you are a violator. So what has happened, like this censorship has taken off, almost like we live in like the 17th century or something like that in the AI world. If you show a little bit of skin, that AI just grinds your account to a halt, and there's really no kind of like middle ground. So great for landscape photographers or maybe pet photographers, but all this new exciting stuff is not great for boudoir photographers. And a lot have suffered, like I said, and Google went after a photographer, like suddenly they use this, and if you have a woman on your website, they think you're an evil website now. So it just like was bananas over the past couple of years. Google was shutting down people's ad accounts, and it's just like it's out of hand with like this AI photo recognition because they're just blanket gunning everybody down. And so photographers in the boudoir world really still had to operate in the old-fashioned manual way when doing a lot of editing when it came to, Photoshop and stuff like that, because these newer AI tools will not work when it comes to if there's a woman in the picture. So keep that in mind. And because people may not automatically realize this, and they may say, oh, well, my friend went and got a portrait session or a family shoot down at the park, and the photographer was able to take them out of one park and put them on a beach just like that. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that, but it won't work in boudoir photography because you are going to be sitting there in the bra, and that has been determined to be evil, and Photoshop will not do the same thing when it sees a woman's body in a picture. It's one of those weird things that for the time being you have to be aware of as a client. It's very frustrating for photographers. It's surprising for clients, because they expect all these new AI tools to be available, and they're not for boudoir photographers because the photographers are going to get blocked. So keep that in mind. If you're expecting them to be some really cool things, they may not be able to because AI is going to stop them no matter who the source is. It's all just blanket lockdown when it comes to women's bodies. So boudoir photographers do not get to enjoy some of these great benefits of some of these new capabilities of software. And not all edits are possible, especially these crazier ones. And these tools can really, really save a lot of money or save a lot of time. And you're just stopped. You're blocked from using them. Even if it's a tiny little, and you want to change something in the background a little bit, it's not going to let you do anything on that photo. So it gets very frustrating for a photographer. So I want the clients to keep that in mind. Hopefully this will change. There's nothing that photographers can really do about this. So just wanted to get that information out there because I don't think a lot of people really understanding that. And also too, if you're a client and you may be thinking that you are going to be asking for a lot of edits, have these discussions with the photographer beforehand. Or if you feel that your input is vital to these photos, just say, hey, I'm a little concerned, or I'm a little, I want to look a certain way. What kind of input can I have on these edits? And is it okay for me to follow up with you? As I noted, most photographers are going to be okay with that. But as far as the level of custom edits, if you're asking for super extreme changes, they're either A, not going to be able to probably do it themselves, or they're going to have to find a graphic artist who is going to have to do this specialty kind of work. Just remember, people think that it was so simple, you push a button, but a lot of these new AI tools are not available to boudoir photographers, so they still have to go to graphic artists. So they may wind up costing you money because graphic artists don't work for free. So if you want something super crazy, they may have to charge you extra for a photo like that. It doesn't stop you from doing basic editing that has always been available in Photoshop. It just made the process easier and it helped photographers be a bit more creative. And, so that's why you may get a little, I can't do that from a boudoir photographer, because literally they can't. And most photographers will be upfront about that, what they can do and what they can't do. And I've certainly had conversations with people, and I've told them right up front, yes, that's simple, or that's not as simple as you believe it may be. So just trust that photographer's experience and ability. And if you think something simple, it may not be as simple as you may be. So that's a little bit today about the world of editing. It is perfectly okay to ask your photographer to do some kind of Photoshop work. It's 1000% all right. And Photoshop is not a dirty word. Asking for changes is perfectly fine in your photos, smoothing skin or tattoos, or if you have a little pimple or something, they can take that off. I've even had sessions where women wanted me to push their waists in or make their booties stick out or more, or a big one is to make boobs like sort of bigger. And again, you wouldn't even notice, but if that's what somebody with that, all that stuff is perfectly okay. It's all part of women's photography. Just keep in mind, AI isn't always available, especially in boudoir photography. So some of these nifty things that you may see may not be available to a boudoir's photographer because just these companies do not want. And I get it. I understand right now they do not want these turning into big machines creating and doing, and there's probably also some kind of legal thing on their end. I guess they're concerned about maybe, and I guess I don't know, there's got to be some legal reason why they're also blocking this too, because everybody does it. There isn't a company that lets you work on any kind of photo like that. So just want to be aware as a client that some of these new things you may have seen, especially in the boudoir space, are not going to be available in AI tools. Trust your photographer. Keep the conversation open about what kind of edits you want to do, and you'll be fine. But like I said, not everybody asks for specialty photos or work like that. Most photographers, this is built in kind of at the factory. They have a particular style or look that they do. And, I would always hear this from people. I don't want to be overly photoshopped. I don't want to make it look like I have too much makeup on. And I say, you look at my galleries. Is the first thing you ever saw when you look, oh my God, I can't believe how much makeup she has? No, you don't even notice it. It just all fits into one cohesive style and look. And so if you're with a qualified, highly skilled photographer, it's not too much of a concern. So I wouldn't worry about it up front. And then after you get your photos, if there is something popping out or you want your boobs to look a little bigger, just send them a little note. By the way, can you do this? Or can you take this out? Or I have this freckle, or I have this pimple, or whatever it is, or something's poking out here. Can you push that back in case they don't do it? It's not going to be a problem. So that was the show. That was it. That's all I got for you this week. That's all. That's all my brain, my pea-sized brain can remember. Sorry. I think I covered it pretty well there, though. But as you can see, it's better and it's worse when it gets to editing. There's a lot that you can do, but some things are blocked in women's photography. But nevertheless, photographers still have plenty of tools available that are able to make like beautiful photos and do simple touch-ups for you. And that's just part of boudoir. That's what people like. They're always asking for more cuteness, and photographers can sort of deliver that. So there you go. Our little chat about editing, Photoshop, and the like, and AI. So I wanted to thank everybody for listening this week. And I'm going to go and get some dinner and just probably take a nap, go to bed early tonight. All this pollen, like I said, is killing me. And that's really my only exciting plan for today. So I want to thank everybody again. I'm getting out of here, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.